in a moment of tranquility. At the hotel lobby, my peace was disrupted by Jerry's jarring voice. With a smug grin, he bragged about his fortune through marriage, saying, "Marrying into wealth has set me up for life. Enjoy your struggles in your modest existence." His words, dripping with disdain, soured my mood instantly. Jerry had recently tied the knot with Emma, a woman of significant social standing as the daughter of the owner of Johnson Enterprises. His laughter, too loud and boastful, clashed with the elegant surroundings. Despite my initial confusion about Johnson Enterprises, recognition soon dawned on me. A smirk played on Jerry's lips, but I had to stifle a chuckle myself. My life is quite different. My name is Megan, and at 32 I'm immersed in the family real estate business, albeit in an administrative capacity. My father, the company's president, is grooming me to take the helm someday. It's a daunting prospect, especially as I'm the sole heir. Despite the pressures of potential leadership, I've kept our business dealings a secret from Jerry, my husband, who is 4 years my senior. He completed his education up to high school and works for a moving company. I respect his profession for its physical demands and expertise, yet I sense his insecurity about our educational and professional disparity. Thus, I rarely discuss my academic achievements or my anticipated role in our company to keep our home life serene. Jerry and I met in an unconventional manner during my college years, thanks to a friend who had enlisted his moving services. Although his initial interest was in her, she was already in a relationship. Fortunately, she thought we might be a good match and introduced us. Our connection was immediate, balancing his laid-back attitude with my detail-oriented nature. Our relationship swiftly progressed to marriage, blessedly free of the usual in-law tensions. Life with Jerry has been mostly smooth. His job is demanding, often keeping him out late, but he always makes an effort to maintain our bond, for which I'm deeply grateful. He thanks me for waiting up with dinner after his long days, a small but meaningful gesture of our shared life. Feeling grateful for my kind-hearted husband, I cherished our harmonious life until a shift occurred a year after our wedding. One evening, as we were getting ready for bed, Jerry unexpectedly raised the topic of having children. His tone, tinged with annoyance, took me by surprise. The thought of starting a family had crossed my mind as well. Although we hadn't been trying actively, I believed that with our regular intimate life, parenthood would eventually happen, when the time was right. "It's only been a year since we got married, so there's no rush," I replied, trying to inject a note of calm into the conversation. I too longed for children, but understood that pressuring ourselves wouldn't be beneficial. To soothe Jerry's concerns, I maintained a reassuring tone, emphasizing patience. Jerry, however, seemed unconvinced and cited statistics to back his point, claiming that there's about a 70% chance for couples not using contraception to conceive within a year. His assertiveness surprised me. I wasn't aware of the exact figures, but his quoted percentage felt overwhelmingly high. "If you're really eager to start a family, perhaps we should consider getting tested," I suggested, thinking it prudent to rule out any potential issues. Jerry's reaction was defensive and accusatory, questioning if I was implying the problem lay with him, and stating that infertility was usually a woman's issue, thus dismissing the need for him to get tested. I was stunned by his harsh words. My suggestion was merely a proactive step, not an accusation. Yet, Jerry concluded I was blaming him and insisted the problem must be mine. His unjustified assumptions left me speechless and hurt. Jerry's refusal to consider joint testing, citing his busy schedule, while belittling my job as merely being a placeholder in my father's company, deeply wounded me. Contrary to his dismissive view, I was not merely coasting. I was actively involved in learning the ropes of the business, aiming to take over from my father one day. Jerry failed to see the effort and challenges I faced at work. That night, any attempt at conversation ended in bitter exchanges, leaving a heavy air between us as we turned away from each other in silence. Following that dispute, Jerry's demeanor towards me changed drastically, his impatience and criticisms becoming more frequent. One day, after a lengthy discussion with my father about the company's future, I returned home late to find Jerry complaining about the absence of dinner. Apologizing and explaining my late arrival, I promised to start cooking immediately. But Jerry's comments, underestimating the size and significance of my father's business, highlighted a lack of understanding and respect for my professional commitments. Offering him a drink while I prepared the meal, I reflected sadly on the role alcohol played in smoothing over our relationship's growing tensions. Dealing with Jerry's moods became a daily challenge, and if offering him a drink could ease the tension, then I was willing to try anything. The following morning, Jerry's demeanor hadn't improved. His demand for dinner to be ready, upon his return, felt more like an order than a request. With a heavy heart, I prepared for my day, which included a visit to the gynecologist for fertility testing. A step I had suggested but now faced alone since Jerry had outright refused to participate. The decision to undergo testing wasn't easy, especially doing it by myself. Yet, I knew it was necessary. If there were any issues on my end, early detection and treatment were crucial. Understanding that fertility can decline with age, I was eager to address any potential problems sooner rather than later. The clinic was bustling, and after an hour's wait, I underwent a thorough examination and blood tests. The doctors promised results by my next appointment. The possibility that the problem might lie with me was daunting, but I was ready to face whatever came my way. When Jerry returned home, I shared the day's events with him, hoping for a sliver of support or understanding. His response, however, was predictably insensitive. "If there's a problem, it's good you're getting tested. Let me know what they find," he said, barely hiding his conviction that I was to blame for our fertility struggles. Over the next 3 years, our situation remained unchanged. We still hadn't conceived, and Jerry's interest in starting a family seemed to wane. His late nights became more frequent, and there were times he didn't come home at all. His excuses of drinking with colleagues or karaoke sessions didn't ease my growing frustration. My career demands increased, pushing the dream of family further to the background, but Jerry's recent neglect was too much to bear. One day, Jerry left his smartphone at home. As I picked it up, intending to place it in his room, it rang. The caller ID displayed Emma, presumably a colleague. Answering the call to let them know Jerry had forgotten his phone, I was met with a flirtatious voice eager for Jerry's company, mentioning a date and a park opening they were planning to attend together. The word date hit me hard, a stark revelation of the state of our marriage and Jerry's actions outside of it. The reality of the situation was clear, and I was left to confront the depth of our issues far beyond what I had imagined. After abruptly ending the call, my mind raced with questions and emotions. The voice on the other end had eagerly anticipated a date with Jerry, a word that hinted at a relationship far from professional. My heart pounded with the realization that Jerry might be having an affair, a thought that turned my initial shock into a deep sense of betrayal. While I was dealing with the challenges of infertility, it seemed Jerry had found solace in someone else's company. The pieces of his recent distant behavior now fell painfully into place. Driven by a mix of anger and determination, I resolved to uncover the truth about Jerry's infidelity. Accessing his smartphone was surprisingly easy. His birth date served as the key to his digital world. A quick glance at his call history and text messages confirmed my worst fears. Conversations with Emma were filled with an intimacy and affection that felt like a punch to the gut. I documented everything with my phone, a silent witness to the betrayal. Despite the turmoil within, I maintained a facade of normalcy, waiting for the right moment to act. 2 months later, my father, the head of our family business, called me into his office for a serious conversation that left me reeling yet resolute about the future. The revelation of Jerry's affair and his subsequent proposal to separate came as no surprise. Prepared for this eventuality, I agreed to the divorce without hesitation. Jerry's reaction suggested he hadn't expected my acquiescence, perhaps hoping for a different outcome that would allow him to continue his liaison with Emma without guilt. Nonetheless, his apparent relief at my agreement only fueled my resolve. As we discussed the practicalities of our separation, including the house and its associated mortgage, Jerry's concern seemed centered on his own financial capabilities rather than the emotional weight of our breakup. Confident in my decision, I moved out, returning to my parents' home, where their support helped reinforce my belief in the choice I had made. In the wake of the divorce, I immersed myself in work, finding solace in the familiarity and demands of my job. Time passed quickly, and before I knew it, a year had gone by. My father, noticing my relentless work ethic and the toll it was taking, suggested a trip to the Northeast for a much-needed break. Embracing the idea, I embarked on my first solo journey, finding the crisp air and the warmth of the locals to be a balm for my soul. Engaging with people, from helpful passers-by to the friendly bar owner, I discovered a sense of peace and healing that had eluded me for so long. This trip, meant as a brief escape, became a pivotal moment in my journey toward recovery and self-discovery. I had chosen a renowned hotel in Portland for my stay, attracted by its fame and the promise of luxury, thinking it would be the perfect backdrop to fully embrace my solo adventure. Settling into the comfort of the hotel lobby with a welcome drink in hand, I felt the weariness from my travels begin to dissipate, and I playfully entertained the thought of making Portland my new home. Just as I was sinking into relaxation, a voice I never expected to hear again cut through the calm. "Hey, what are you doing here?" It was Jerry, my ex-husband, unmistakably recognized even before I saw him stride into the lobby with 3 large suitcases and a young woman by his side. She was notably younger, perhaps in her early 20s, adorned with bold makeup and vibrant red nails, her attire boldly defying the cool northeast air with a short skirt. Caught off guard, I found myself staring at them, my curiosity getting the better of me despite my initial reluctance. "Why are you here? And who is this?" I couldn't help but ask. Jerry, with a smile that seemed too bright, introduced the young woman as Emma, his new wife. They were on their honeymoon, he explained, and she was the daughter of a wealthy businessman. The irony of the situation was not lost on me. Emma was the name I had heard on that fateful phone call, the same young woman who now stood before me. Jerry's smug remark about my solo trip being pathetic stung, especially coming from him. Emma's gaze was equally unsettling, filled with mockery as she quickly judged me, her tone sharp and belittling. Jerry wrapped an arm around Emma, proudly proclaiming his new life married into wealth, suggesting I was left to struggle in my supposedly inferior existence. His words, meant to demean, echoed through the lobby, disrupting the peaceful atmosphere I had been enjoying. However, his boast about marrying into the Johnson Enterprises family sparked a memory. Despite his attempts to impress, I couldn't help but suppress a laugh. The company he mentioned was indeed well known, but not perhaps for reasons he would wish to boast about. Jerry seemed taken aback by my calm response and knowledge of Johnson Enterprises. I informed him I was familiar with the company, even having visited their prominent building downtown. His surprise at my acquaintance with the company's stature only served to underscore the shallowness of his pride. As he smugly thanked me for the easy divorce, suggesting it was the best decision he ever made, I couldn't help but feel detached from his provocations. His parting words, laden with sarcasm, failed to disturb the peace I had found in my new life. Despite the unexpected and uncomfortable encounter, I was reminded of the growth and resilience I had developed since our separation, affirming my journey toward healing and self-discovery. Maintaining my composure, I let them in on a little-known fact with an air of nonchalance. "That building happens to be part of our family's real estate portfolio," I remarked, almost as if the thought had just occurred to me. Jerry and Emma's simultaneous query, "What do you mean by our real estate?" betrayed their surprise. I explained, "The building you're referring to is actually one of the prime properties managed by my father. It's a prestigious spot for his offices. I'm not sure how involved your company is with real estate, but I can assure you it's far from modest." Their skepticism was palpable, but I pressed on, no longer concerned with preserving Jerry's ego. "Yes, it's quite the landmark. My father acquired it for around $350 million, if I recall correctly. Oh, and recently he's been dealing with a tenant who's fallen behind on rent. Interestingly, that tenant is your company, Johnson Enterprises. The revelation that my father is a real estate tycoon, overseeing assets worth billions, and that Johnson Enterprises was currently delinquent on rent payments seemed to astonish them." Emma laughed off the accusation, claiming it was an absurd attempt to sow discord, but I was unfazed by her disbelief. Without hesitation, I pulled out my phone and dialed my dad, requesting he send over the reminder notice for the overdue rent. The evidence arrived promptly, leaving no room for doubt. "Here, takes a look. 5 months of rent unpaid. If it's not, settled soon. Legal action might be the next step. What's your plan?" Their confidence faltered at the mention of potential litigation. Emma's facade cracked as she admitted to noticing changes in her company's demeanor, hinting at financial troubles she had previously overlooked. Jerry, on the other hand, accused me of fabricating the story to drive a wedgie between him and his new wife. His outburst, loud and filled with desperation, was a stark contrast to the composed figure I had maintained. This unexpected encounter not only revealed the cracks in their seemingly perfect life, but also underscored my growth beyond the need for Jerry's approval or the petty satisfaction of seeing him falter. It was a testament to my strength and the new life I had built for myself. far removed from the shadows of our past marriage. As Jerry stood there, smugly basking in his new life, memories of his unkind words throughout our marriage flooded back to me. It was time to face him, not as the person he once knew, but as someone who had moved far beyond the pain he caused. Do you honestly believe I harbor any feelings for you after everything? How delusional. My days of tolerating your shallowness are long gone. In fact, I pity Emma for being entangled with someone of your caliber. Was it her wealth that drew you in, just as you had shallow motives for marrying me? And let's not forget who abandoned whom over the inability to have children, branding me as useless. All the blame you've cast my way, yet you think I still hold affection for you? That's laughable. Releasing years of suppressed frustration felt liberating. Jerry, on the other hand, seemed to boil over with rage, resorting to calling me names and boasting about his plans with Emma, all while trying to deflect blame onto me for his company's financial woes. It was then I chose to reveal my current happiness. Oh, by the way, I'm 5 months pregnant. I've been advised by my doctor that this trip would be good for me, a moment of peace before embracing motherhood. The shock on Jerry's face was evident. Yes, after our divorce, I found love with someone who truly supports me, my boss, an ally of my father and a proponent of my future leadership. Our marriage was swift yet celebrated. And now, expecting his child, my life is filled with genuine joy and support. I continued. And just so you know, my father plans to retire as CEO next month. He's stepping down earlier than expected due to health reasons, leaving me to inherit not just his position, but also his legacy. This transition, in many ways, was made smoother by our divorce, allowing me to move forward unencumbered. Jerry's reaction to my pregnancy and my ascension to CEO was a mix of astonishment and disbelief. This revelation was not just about proving my independence and resilience, but about showing how far I had come since our separation. The life I was building, filled with love, support, and success, stood in stark contrast to the past we shared. It was a testament to the strength I had found within myself and the new beginnings that awaited, far from the shadows of our failed marriage. Discovering my newfound happiness and the unexpected turn of events in my life, I confidently shared with Jerry that I was pregnant. His reaction was one of shock and confusion, questioning our past decisions regarding birth control and the revelation that the fertility issues may have actually been on his side. This news seemed to hit him hard, leading him to question his decisions, especially his recent marriage to Emma, who was visibly upset by the conversation. I calmly explained that during our marriage, I had undergone fertility tests, which indicated no issues on my end, subtly implying that the problem might not have been with me after all. Jerry's realization that he might face fertility challenges with Emma added another layer of complexity to his current situation, prompting a mix of regret and confusion from him. Emma's reaction to Jerry's musings was sharp, accusing him of betrayal for not disclosing his potential infertility. It was clear that their relationship was based on misunderstandings and unspoken expectations. Seeing that there was nothing more to be gained from this encounter, I firmly stated my intentions regarding the overdue rent for the building occupied by Johnson Enterprises. I emphasized the need for them to settle their debts or face legal consequences, making it clear that their personal drama was no longer my concern. Leaving Jerry and Emma to sort through their issues, I returned to my hotel room, feeling a sense of closure and ready to move forward with my life. Upon my return from the trip, my husband's warm welcome reinforced the stability and support I now had in my life, a stark contrast to the turbulence of my past with Jerry. Since that encounter, I focused on my family and career, leaving Jerry and his complications behind. Through my father's network, I learned that Jerry and Emma's relationship was strained by constant arguments and financial woes, as Johnson Enterprises struggled with debt and scandal. This news, while unfortunate, served as a reminder of how much my life had improved since leaving Jerry behind. My current happiness, built on genuine love and mutual respect, stands as a testament to the strength and resilience I've developed. As I move forward, the challenges and lessons of the past remain a distant memory, overshadowed by the joy and fulfillment of my present life. The scandal that hit Johnson Enterprises was like a storm that left nothing but chaos in its wake. Emma's father tried to shield the company's image, but once the truth about the embezzlement broke, the company's stock took a nosedive, erasing its credibility overnight. With the workforce dwindling and financial stability shaken, it became impossible for them to cover their rent, prompting my father to pursue legal action. The once thriving company faced a grim future, primarily due to its own missteps. Jerry, who had once imagined himself secure in a life of luxury, found himself caught in the backlash, his dreams crumbling around him. His gamble on marrying into wealth had backfired spectacularly. Emma, on her part, accused Jerry of deceiving her into marriage, adding to his woes. In the aftermath of our uncomfortable hotel confrontation, I took steps to seek compensation for Jerry's betrayal during our marriage. Further straining his finances, the fallout was inevitable. Jerry and Emma's marriage, built on shaky ground, couldn't withstand the pressure and eventually ended in divorce. Then, in a twist I never anticipated, Jerry reached out to me, pleading for reconciliation and help with his debts, his voice dripping with desperation. But his appeal only highlighted his unchanged priorities and failed to stir any sympathy from me. Firmly, I declined his plea, choosing instead to focus on the bright future awaiting me with my husband and our child. I ensured Jerry could no longer reach me by blocking his number, cutting off any avenue for his pitiful attempts at reconciliation. Jerry's situation was a stark reminder of the consequences of his actions. Facing financial ruin and personal isolation, compounded by his infertility, his prospects for remarriage seemed bleak. Yet, his predicament felt distant to me, almost as if belonging to another world. As for me, life has never been better. With a loving husband by my side and the joy of our upcoming child, I've found a happiness that's both deep and genuine. Work is rewarding, and every day brings new reasons to be grateful. This sense of fulfillment, both in my personal and professional life, is something I cherish deeply. As I look forward to what the future holds, I'm reminded of how far I've come and the bright path that lies ahead.